This video covers a sunny day scramble up Crowden Great Brook from Crowden itself to an exit point around Slithens.
This is Crowden Great Brook with a start point much earlier than I'd anticipated, only 5 minutes or so from the car park, with a weir, but in front of the weir quite a deep pool, so I'm going to investigate. That was fun. Stuck to the right hand side. The lower pool had to swim a little bit, otherwise waist and chest deep. Upper pool more like waist deep. The steps on the two weirs are quite high, but you can get up them. For the lower weir there's a drain that pours down, so you go into the centre and then you can choose either to come up on the right or to the left hand side of the main weir before getting up to the bridge. Normally, in order to get alongside Crowden Great Brook, you'd take the path that runs along up there, but I'm standing here, I guess, at what is the start of Crowden Great Brook proper, because off to my right here is the entry point for Crowden Little Brook, and Great Brook is going to wind its way up the main Crowden Valley. It looks as if it's going to be pretty flat for quite a long way, but I think beyond castles there may be some interesting elements. But looking forward to it. Beautiful sunny day here in Crowden, which is looking bright and beautiful, unlike its normal brooding self. Now at the footbridge crossing the brook, the main path comes in there. I've come along, there's a sort of semblance of a path that runs alongside the brook itself. As you can see, the brook might be lovely on a sunny day like today, but otherwise not worth getting in. So now, quite a bit further up past the first bend that you can see there, and the brook gradually narrowing as we go up. Still nothing that would make it worthwhile actually trying to scramble within the brook itself. Now in the almost ravine that will eventually lead up to castles, and the first proper waterfall, maybe about 6 feet, easy to get up. I'm sure that the sunshine helps, but this is a really enjoyable set. There are uneven pools of unknown depth, rocky scrambles, and very slippery rapids like the one here that you have to really think about in order to find your way up. One part of the enjoyment is that there are multiple routes to take up in many of the sections, and here we come towards a 15-foot or so waterfall. Easy steps, but quite nice to do. Bit too much green algae, the scrambler's enemy, and could do with a bit more green moss, the scrambler's friend, but I've not yet been tempted to get out of the brook. Now come up to castles. Looks like it might be flattening off a little bit, and I'll be relatively glad of getting out, because despite the sunshine in early April, my toes and fingers have gone a little bit numb, being in the water for about an hour or so by now. I've come out again because it's starting to flatten off. This is the point under near Broadslate where the Pennine Way is just coming down to join the brook. It's quite an interesting little gully up there that might be worth exploring, and this is a point well past castles. There's more of this if you want it, but I've got to be honest that the green algae, and then if you can see down there, there's sort of long-haired green algae that looks a bit like moss but is actually much slipperier. It's got a little bit tiresome. It is so ice rink slippery quite a lot of the way, and not much reward, so that's why I think I'm going to stay out. Here where a ford in a side stream crosses the route of the Pennine Way, I think it's time to get out. if you look at the contours, if you look at the landscape, then all the way up to Ghyll, it's pretty shallow and can't see any point in continuing. So this is the exit point for Crowden Great Brook. Some scrambles work well because you look at a waterfall, you look at a rock wall and you think, oh, how on earth am I going to get up that? And you have to work out the route and problem solve it. Crowden Great Brook was not like that. There's no really challenging elements at all. It was more micro level challenge of where do I put my foot next to avoid it slipping, or how do I get over this little rock, or how far down in the pool is my foot going to go, because I can't see what's going on there. And it was pretty continuous in terms of those micro level problem solvings. So I thought it was really quite enjoyable. There's probably about an hour and a half worth of those little micro problem solvings to keep you interested. So yeah, my overall verdict was quite good. Although it probably wasn't algae that made it so slippery, was it? It was probably lichen. Eventually it all got a bit too slippery at the top, and that's why I came out. But yeah, I'd certainly recommend it. I think I need to clarify that recommendation of Crowden Great Brook is relative to just walking up a very shallow brook with no waterfalls and no rocks or rapids. Yeah, it's to be recommended, but I decided to take a little detour up the upper part of Oaken Clough, and I can see why Crowden Great Brook is not one of the listed scrambles in the Scrambles in the Dark Peat book, because compared to Oaken Clough, well, Oaken Clough is much steeper, rockier, just much more engaging. And so if you were going to be in the area and you wanted to do one thing, you'd probably do something like Oaken Clough or one of the listed scrambles in the Scrambles in the Dark Peat book, more than Crowden Great Brook.
Everything is relative. Crowden Great Brook is better than Little Brook and much more fun than trudging along the Pennine Way, but other nearby cloughs such as Oaken or Torside or Coombs are somewhat more appealing, and they're probably better at teaching me the difference between algae, lichen and moss.